Thank you, sir. So today my topic is on rotator cuff tear. So basically, we'll see about the anatomy, the definition of it, epidemiology, causes for it, how the clinical presentation will be, and the examination of it, the treatment for it, and PT management and the exercise protocol for it. So initially, we need to know the anatomy of the rotator cuff. So the musculotendinous cuff of the shoulder is a firm sheath formed by 4 flattened tendons. So it is a flattened tendon forming the rotator cuff. These blend with the capsule of the shoulder, the posterior, anterior, and the middle capsule. The rotator cuff muscles are the supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, and subscapularis muscle. Mainly, they are normally called as fits. These muscles arise from the scapula and insert at the greater and the lesser tubercle of the humerus. So the tendons, muscles origin from the scapula, but the tendons insert in the lesser and the greater tubercle of the humerus. By the movements, the supraspinatus helps in abduction of the shoulder. The infraspinatus, the teres minor, helping in the external rotation of the shoulder, and the subscapularis helping in the internal rotation of the shoulder. And going, this is a picture of the muscles origin from the shoulder and inserting in the head of the definition. Rotator cuff is made up of 4 muscles, as I said, that is helping in mobility and stability of the shoulder. So as I said, for the mobility, the subscapularis doing the internal rotation, the supraspinatus doing the abduction movement, and the infraspinatus and the teres minor doing the external rotation movement, and the stability. So the scapula helps in the dynamic shoulder. As such, the muscles also help. The scapula muscles also help in the dynamic stability of the shoulder. During a abduction movement, the infraspinatus. Sir? Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are audible. Please continue.
During short abduction movement, the infraspinatus and the teres minor stabilize the shoulder from getting inferiorly. So while doing abduction movement, the head should roll down. So the infraspinatus and the teres minor pulls the head of the humerus into the capsule of the shoulder, stabilizing the joint from getting subluxed or dislocated. So damage to any or all the 4 muscles and the ligament can occur because of any acute injury or chronic ovaries or gradual aging. The mainly affected tendons are the subscapularis and the supraspinatus. The classification, as Schofield classified the full thickness tear of the rotator cuff into 4 classifications: the small tear, the medium tear, the large tear, and the massive tear. So if the tear is less than 1 centimeter, it is classified as a small tear. If it is around 1 to 3 centimeter, it is classified into medium tear. If it is around 3 to 5 centimeter, it is classified into large tear. And if it is greater than 5 centimeter, it is classified into massive tear. So going to the epidemiology. So epidemiology of it is a full thickness rotator cuff tear present in approximately 25% of individuals in their 60s. At the age of 60s, around the population, 25% of them are having a full thickness rotator cuff tear, and at 50% of individuals in their 80s. So full thickness rotator cuff tears without symptoms are commonly present in approximately 50% of patients over age of 65. So these 65 untreatedly, they turn into the 50% of population in 80s. So symptomatic full thickness tear progress in tear size is approximately 50% of cases at an average of 2 years. So untreated or unnoticed small tear is developed into medium tear. Unnoticed medium tear is developed into a large tear. As it is a ligament or anything, a tendon or a muscle, it needs a rest period. It needs a recovery period. So if it is not given or any treatment is done, it is progress into the next levels of the tear. So a small tear converts into a medium tear approximately by doing 2 years, around 2 years. So if the person is having overuse of shoulder, overuse of abduction and overhead abduction movements is more progressive to reach the next level. So causes of it. So a history of repetitive overhead activities, trauma or dislocation, trauma in the means of outstretched hand, landing on the wrist, impact on the shoulder, getting the impact on the shoulder muscles, getting the injury to the rotator muscles. And during dislocations, in anterior or inferior dislocations, the muscle gets altered from their position, getting injured. Then age-related degeneration or deterioration, and occupation-related injuries, commonly in overhead, the people who do overhead activities or more of abduction activities and carrying weight or more pressure in their activities, commonly like overhead throwers or overhead lifters. So chronic lifting and scapular dyskinesia. So scapular dyskinesia plays a major role here because untreated scapular dyskinesia may lead to rotator cuff tear, possibly. So scapula's main process is to stabilize the shoulder while doing any movements. So the scapular dyskinesia may progress to rotator cuff tear. So clinical representation. How the patient represents to a physician or a physio. He represents with the pain and swelling in the front of the shoulder. As same as an ankle twist or any ligament injury, the patient represents with the pain and swelling in the shoulder also. So there will be clicking sounds in raising arm or raising arm in the sense even in the flexion, abduction. Both the movements they may be clicking sounds. And they feel of weakness in shoulder. And night pains, decreased range of motion and strengthen affected arm because of the muscle spasm and pain. Larger tears may cause inability to abduct the arm due to loss of the muscle power. And they'll have the feeling of instability more. Next, we'll jump to the examination part. So there will be a big subjective examination, like present history, past history, their occupation history, previous injury history, and their medical history. So this gets into the play while if a patient approaches you with a left shoulder pain, front shoulder pain, tip of the shoulder pain, you need the history to be clear to avoid other complications. And next, the body marking. Body marking in a sense, a side, the duration of the pain, the onset of the pain should be noted. Then going to the objective assessment. On observation, we check for the swelling and the redness. On palpation, we check for tenderness. As there is a muscle tear, most of them will represent the tenderness and warmth. So next, we'll check with the range of motion. So range of motion, both active and passive range of motion will be checking for the flexion, abduction, internal rotation, and external rotation of the shoulder. And most of them represent with active arm will be lesser than the passive arm. As there is muscle tear, the active arm will be lesser than the passive arm. And we need to compare with the normal side, the opposite side with the affected side. Then will be the MRI findings or the X-ray findings. Mainly MRI findings will be helpful for classification of the small tear or the medium tear or it's a large tear. To classify it, the MRI findings will be helpful for us. Next will be checking the muscle power with a portable handheld dynamometer, or else MMT can be used at a minimum cost. MMT is not more reliable, so at the last cost we can use of MMT. Then we will move to special test. So a positive test implies that the respective tendon is torn. If any of the test is positive, it implies that the respective tendon is torn. For subscapularis, we'll test for lift-off test and passive lift-off test, belly press test, belly of sign, and bare egg test. For supraspinal test and infraspinal test, we'll be checking for the external rotation lag sign, Jobs test, drop arm test, and knee test. For the teres minor, the hornblower sign. So I'll be explaining this specialist mainly. So subscapularis lift-off test, the patient hand is held extension with internal rotation, keeping the hand in mid lumbar region, and the patient is asked to lift his arm back. If the patient can't lift the arm back, the test is positive, and we can assess the muscle power of the subscapularis too with this. And the belly press test. So same thing, the patient is asked to keep his hands on the belly and is asked to do internal rotation of the shoulder. The patient presents with pain. If the patient presents with pain, the test is positive, and same, the subscapularis muscle is affected. In the Barak test, the patient is asked to keep his affected arm on the opposite shoulder and is asked to lift the shoulder. The test is positive if the patient presents with pain. Next will be the Jobs test for supraspinatus infraspinal test. A Jobs empty can test. The patient is asked to abduct flex the arm 90 degree and internal rotate, and the therapist gives pressure opposite to the flexion. So and the knee test, the knee impingement test, the therapist takes the patient arm to flexion overhead and is asked to press against the therapist pressure. Then the Hornblower sign for the T is minor, done with 90 degree of shoulder abduction and external rotation of 90 degree. The patient complains of pain during that position. This is the MRI finding of a rotator cuff tear, a medium thickness tear represented in the. Next will be the treatment part, the medications part by the physician or the orthopedician. Anti-inflammatory medications are usually given for them for pain relief. The ibuprofen or naproxen, and steroid injections into the shoulder joint may be helpful for them. Surgical management. For choosing a surgical management choose for patients with extensive tear of the rotator cuff tendon. If conservative treatment is not helping, decide effect of 6 weeks. So usually there is a conservative management for the patients with small tear and medium tear for 6 weeks. If it is not effective, the patient can move to surgical management. And people with professional sports people who have rotator cuff tear, they can go for surgical management because they can't avoid the overhead activities for a long time, so they can go for surgical management. If the job or the radial requires constant shoulder uses, they can go for surgical management. Coming to the PT management, the main part is coming to surgical management. The main part is getting back to the normal position. So initially, immobilizing the joint with a sling may help support the arm and rest the rotator cuff muscles. However, long-term use of a sling causes significant stiffness of the shoulder joint. The goal of the treatment is to reduce pain and restore normal function. After 2 weeks of initial rest and cold packs, passive ORM can be started. So after initially mobilizing the joint for 2 weeks, passive ORM can be started by the therapist. And contrast bath can be beneficial for some patients. And initial mobilization is done at pain-free range. After 2 weeks of immobilization and passive ORM, active ORM can be started at limited range at pain-free range to avoid further complications, to avoid the progression of the tear. And the management part, ultrasound or deep heating modalities like shortwave is used initially, and passive mobilization of the scapulothoracic joint is encouraged for correcting the mechanical issue due to the scapular dysfunctions. So range of motion exercises like assistive or active assistive exercises are helpful in maintaining shoulder functions. Once the acute stage is over, resistance exercises using the TheraBands can be begun as long as they are done in pain-free range. So the main note is having the patient in a comfort zone, because it's a tear, it should not progress. So we should be working on the pain-free range. Then coming to the exercise exercise planning. So we'll be having upper limb stretches for the other muscles. Initially, like doing for the pectoralis and the deltoid muscles, and mobility exercise to improve the internal and external rotation range at the end stage. So mobility exercises, like we'll be adding the mobility exercises at the end of the protocols, like after initial mobilization of the shoulder, after a free active movement is possible, we'll be moving to of the internal and external rotators, like doing a sleeper stretch, external rotation in side lines, avoiding gravity, and doing movements. And we'll go to isometric exercise for the shoulder movements, for all the flexion, extension, abduction, even adduction, internal and external rotation. We'll start with isometric exercises. Then we'll start with scapula stabilization exercises on non-weight bearing, followed by weight bearing, like scapula squeezes in quadruped positions, scapula squeezes in prone position, then taking into scapula position high plank positions. So we can progress it to weight bearing when they are comfortable. So scapular stabilization plays a main role in this, because the tendons insert in the shoulder, but the muscles are scapula. The scapular stabilization is, if the scapular stabilization is okay, the shoulder is gonna be fine. So strengthening exercise with the TheraBand followed by weights. So if the patient is okay with TheraBand, the pain is getting good and normal, you can progress it to the weights, improving the overall activities and correcting the biomechanics of the movement. So if a patient needs, the patient's main uses is shoulders and his abduction, and the overall activity is the main movement of his daily life, we need to train for it. So we need to correct the biomechanics of the shoulder complex, the scapula, and the scapulohumeral rhythm also. So the pictures of the structures and YTW for the scapular stabilization and for strengthening the shoulder muscles too. So mainly targets the scapular stabilization, mainly the activation of the rhomboids. Then the strengthening exercise for the shoulder internal and external rotators with TheraBand, caption for improving scapular flexion, the latissimus dorsi strengthening, sitting in a chair, pressing your body against a chair with the hands, and sideline external rotation. If the patient is okay with free movements, we can add with resistance with weights, and horizontal abduction on a table to improve, to activate the scapular muscles, and sleeper stretch to improve the internal rotator of the shoulder. And if everything is fine, we can proceed to the shoulder, like push-ups with plus position to avoid over pressure on the shoulder. We can initially start with weight bearing in the body weight. Okay. Any questions? Sorry.
Yes, Jay Chandran, there is one question in chat box. What